rotating, and they don't have to be powerful supercells to produce damaging tornadoes. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with that rotation. Now, what was that? Okay, so we want to. Okay, so we want to hit a couple of other warnings because now we've got more tornadoes on the ground. So there's the one, Jackie, what were you saying?
Tornado on the ground.
Okay.
It's heading towards South Elgin.
Okay, so that's this one, and JD said there's 2 tornadoes on the ground here. Okay, so hold on, let's zoom out if we can, JD, so we can kind of reset. And we'll hit back on these 2 tornadoes on the ground. So let's take a broad view because this is, again, all of the Chicago metro area, but there are different suburbs in play, okay? So let's go a little bit wider if we can. Obviously, we've been talking about the Chicago tornado moving towards the city. That's this cell right there, okay? Now, on the northwest side of the metro area in Kane County, that is where we've got now 2 tornadoes confirmed on the ground right now. That's where you have that observed tag. And notice those little areas where the rain or on the radar, it kind of went in a little bit. You have those little circles in the green. Those are where the tornadoes are. You see one right there and then one right there. So these are likely rain wrapped, possibly. And they are on the ground just south of Elgin, just to the west and south of Elgin. So if you live in Elgin, you need to take shelter immediately here. That's towards Youngsdale. Now, this storm is a little bit stronger. This is the one that we've been watching come through southern Wisconsin, move through Rockford, and we said this was the back edge, the main line. That's the cell that we're talking about. And notice it's starting to drape some more isolated storms that are rotating and could produce more tornadoes. So things are happening very quickly here in the Chicago metro area. So Elgin, you need to take shelter immediately. 2 tornadoes on the ground. There's Highway 20 and there's I-90 towards Schaumburg. So if you live in these communities, we're giving you an idea of the timing. Again, a tornado there, a tornado there. Sometimes when you have 2 tornadoes that close together, one kind of takes over with the cell, and that can also veer. That can cause some shifting with the track. So don't take this by ground truth. Jackie's going to come over, kind of join in.
Let's get a little more information on
Yeah.
that more northern one over towards Algonquin.
Oh, so that's the warning north of there. Okay.
Yeah, so there has been some damage reported there, some trees down and some damage to homes. We don't know how severe that damage might be at this time, but obviously a very dangerous situation on all of these warnings that are unfolding, all of which have either radar proof or ground truth of actual tornadoes that have touched down and caused damage. So we've got the one towards Midway, we've got the one towards South Elgin, now we've got the one up towards Algonquin. The original warning just outside of Chicago has now been allowed to expire, but the extension of it that goes, from about Midway there and heading into the city of Chicago, that one remains in effect. So we're still seeing some rotation on that. And notice we've got like 3 different cells in there too that we're watching.
Yeah.
You look at this radar and you go, that's
because we may get an area. Yeah, I know.
It looks very deceiving. So trust the warnings here. We've had public reports of an actual tornado. We had a debris signature on the other cell. So get to your safe place.
Yeah.
A lot of people are probably in their office buildings right now still in Chicago.
Waiting on traffic to subside.
Yes, don't get out
on the roads. That's for sure. That's the last place you want to be. And I know if you're already on the roads, you got to do what you got to do. There's a limit. If you can get inside a building, that's always helpful. You're likely stuck in traffic. This is new video of that storm that's warned on for Chicago. This was a little earlier near Oswego, Illinois, when it was first warned on. So you can hear the sirens going off. And at this point, this was where the funnel cloud was spotted. You see how it kind of makes a V in the center of your screen? That was the beginning of that rotation really taking shape. It amazes me, Chris, Jackie, how we haven't had a lot of thunder and lightning at all with these storms, and boom, we get 4 or 5 warnings within 10 minutes, how quickly things have escalated.
Not familiar with the area. It's south of Aurora, so these are in the western suburbs of Chicago, and it's still a little bit to the west. Oswego's a little bit to the west of Naperville, but this is the one that we've been watching, the southernmost storm that's had rotation on it for quite some time now, and that's the one where the warning kind of changed, and it's the closest one to downtown Chicago right now.
Yeah.
This is the storm when it was in Oswego, which is south of Aurora.
Yeah, look at that rotation there too. You can clearly see that whole lowering of that cloud rotating around. That's clearly rotating, and this is what these storms have the kind of environment to be able to do. as they push through.
Yeah, you don't see anything on the ground there. That's good for the moment. This is the view from the lakefront. Is this from Willis Tower, by the way?
I think
this
so.
might be a camera on Willis Tower. So we're overlooking the park there and overlooking the lakefront, so we can see downtown Chicago. But you know, when the lake's in front of you, you know that the storm's behind you, right? So we're not looking at the storms that are coming. We're looking across the lake, but still you can see the dark skies and the clouds. Warren, I know you're looking at all this, and visible satellite is really showing some of the explosive nature of a few of these storms too.
Look at those showers offshore there. Again, it's getting a little windy here and stormy here in Chicago. Here's your Wrigley Field. Look on top of the screen. You can see the flags whipping around. Even the traffic light here. If you've ever been up close to a traffic light, they're big and heavy.
Bouncing. It was bouncing.
Yeah,
the
it
wind.
still is. It's kind of just
some of those gusts really picking up there in downtown Chicago. Again, that's not the tornado yet that's coming through, but it looks like we've got a couple areas, Chris, that are obviously the tornado on the ground, but then even ahead of that, there's an area trying to rotate.
All right, so we'll get back to some of the specifics with each one of the different tornado warnings that are ongoing right now in Chicago, but want to kind of give you a larger view, give you an idea of what's going on and why conditions are so favorable right now for tornadoes in Chicago. And here's the visible satellite. We are seeing some of the bigger clouds right now. Some of those happening offshore in Lake Michigan. We're looking at some of that rain shafts here. Also, you can see how it's coming down like this. Here are the tornado warnings, some being extended from other storms. And there is now some lightning. There was rotation earlier without the lightning, so these storms are getting bigger. They're getting taller. We can look at some of the parameters, some of the different ingredients that can contribute to the development of tornadoes. So right now, this is the radar and the satellite. So this is what we're seeing, detecting right now. But what else is going on here? There is still plenty of energy, not a ton, but enough for these storms to tap into to get that air rising. Also notice that as we look at some of the temperatures, it's warm enough. You're in the 70s, it's warmer to the south. Notice the movement of the storms. And then if you stare at this, can you see these small little white lines? At times, they're going in opposite directions as the storm. So the storms are being moved by the winds a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, and at the surface, the moisture coming in, the winds are almost kind of going like that. So there's the wind shear. This is an environment where these storms are likely to spin, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Plenty of moisture in place for these storms. The supercell parameter as well, in that likely to even very likely. So some of these storms took a while for them to go really vertical, but they are. So another one of the parameters. Notice it's also somewhat limited. So once the back edge comes through, you start to lose some of that. A little bit of stabilization going on here, but still favorable for the development of some big storms. Another look at the sort of the 850 millibars. So you're looking at a few thousand feet into the air, not quite at the surface. So this is where you're seeing some of these strong winds, and that's what these colors right here, the blue and the pink, really racing along and pushing the storms here. They haven't been super tall, so we've been seeing the storms being pushed here by some of the lower level winds. It's about 5,000 feet above ground. At the surface, the winds are going in the other direction. So again, really a tendency for these storms to spin. Also notice right here, we were watching the storm that was south of Aurora. We were looking at video a few moments ago. It was going like this, and then the warning got changed to more of a northeast movement instead of a due east movement. And you can see how, and when that happened, the winds just kind of changed a little bit with the area of low pressure that's driving this whole thing, helping to bring the winds more from the southwest. That's why you got this storm coming in, kind of taking a left turn, heading into downtown Chicago.